Hello YouTube! I was looking through my videos earlier today. Well, actually I was downloading them in case my channel does happen to get caught up in this this wave of suspensions that's hit of late. In fact, on that topic, I've downloaded all of my videos now, so if those responsible do want to target my channel, I'll just create 2 more channels and I'll upload every video I've got to them, so yeah. Anyway, enough of that. I was looking through my videos and I realised that I haven't done a Transformers review for a whole week. That's terrible. That's really awful. What kind of self-respecting Transformers fan leaves it a whole week between reviews? Awful. So, I dug out this chap. Now, this guy was one of my very first from the Universe Classics range. I've had him for quite a while, actually. I picked him up at the local Yeah, that's one of his gimmicks. That's the toilet flush of doom. I picked him up at the local Toys R Us. And he's one of those toys I really probably shouldn't have bought. It wasn't that I couldn't afford him or anything to that effect, but I did have other things I could have bought that were useful. Clothes, that sort of thing. But no, I bought him instead. Because he was cheap and he's big and he's lovely. And he's Onslaught. And I like Onslaught a lot. For one thing, I said in my Skylinks review actually that Skylinks was the only Transformer in Generation 1 with an English accent. I was completely wrong in that. There are 2 others. Shockwave, Generation 1 Shockwave had an English accent, and this guy, Onslaught, he was... Yeah, it keeps doing that. He was also English for some reason. Now, generally, the Classics line, the Voyager class toys, the larger ones don't really work out properly. If you think of the Power Glide mold with its flashing neon breasts and its bizarre heart thing and the arms that just come out of their sockets, it's pretty awful. The larger toys, for some reason, just don't have the quality that most of the smaller ones do. The deluxe scale ones are wonderful. But the larger ones, the only really 100% successful one I can think of is the Optimus Prime mold, which is gorgeous, and it's even better in its Nemesis Prime colours. Ooh, lovely. But this guy, I think I'd go so far as to say this is probably the most successful of the Voyager class Classics toys. It's absolutely wonderful. It's a beautiful homage to Generation 1 Onslaught, and originally Gen 1 Onslaught was the leader of the Combaticons, and the Combaticons have always been presented quite interestingly for a Decepticon subgroup, because they are Decepticon war criminals in every continuity they've appeared in. They've actually been at odds with the other Decepticons, because they tend to follow their own agendas, as opposed to following the Decepticon High Command. And Onslaught was their leader. He's kind of an interesting character, actually. For a Decepticon, he's reasonably non-violent. He's not that interested in the act of committing war. Rather, he's interested in the theoretics of war. He's the Decepticon strategist and tactician. And his obsession is crafting intricate battle plans that he expects his fellow Decepticons to conform to the letter, and if they don't, then that's when he tends to get rather violent. And he can even, according to his bio, even lapse into a deep depression when his plans don't work out, because he has this particular problem where he doesn't like it when his battle plans don't accommodate for all variables. That really upsets him, apparently. Now, what I like about this toy more than anything is that it, like a lot of the classic line representations of older characters, it's a lovely homage to the Generation 1 toy. It's exactly the same colour scheme as Generation 1 Onslaught. The Generation 1 Onslaught was slightly darker than this, but the colours are very, very similar. And there are also certain design elements that are carried over in both modes. For example, these cannons on the top are very reminiscent of Generation 1 Onslaught. That's very, very nice. And he's also one of those wonderfully big, heavy, solid toys that are just a joy to hold and to play with. He does have a couple of gimmicks in this mode, which are actually not too bad as gimmicks go. Most of them he's got the old toilet flush of doom. I mean, he's a sort of mobile Cybertronian porta-loo. I really don't like that. I don't even know what it's supposed... I'm not quite sure what that's supposed to be. An explosion, an engine noise, I don't know, but it sounds like an industrial toilet. He also has some flashing lights and some annoying noises, which are rarely used because they're very, very frustrating. And these spikes at the front will come down, so you can ram through enemy battle lines and perhaps impale a couple of Autobots. Very nice. The toy itself is remarkably solid and well constructed. I like that. There are very few portions that are loose, and there's also very little indication of the robot mode, even from underneath. It's very solid and compact. It does have, I mean, some people have complained that it is a bit of a shell former, because most of the robot is basically, oh shit, that's his SWAT shield that he holds in robot mode. You can take that off. Most of the robot does sort of fold inside the vehicle, but it's a rather ingenious little transformation. I rather like it. But what I appreciate most of all about this toy is that it genuinely looks like a futuristic version of Onslaught, of Generation 1 Onslaught. You get the impression that if the rest of the Combaticons had gone on to be killed in action or something to that effect, Onslaught might have been reformatted into this. And it's a remarkably appropriate design for the character as well. I like that. Right then, onto the transformation, which is very, very good. It's reasonably intricate, not too difficult, and very, very satisfying. And there is Universe Classics Onslaught in his frankly amazing robot mode. He's so huge and intimidating. He looks like he could take apart an entire battalion of Autobots single-handed, which is lovely. We always like that. There's something about the general design of him that's very Generation 1, Gen 2. It reminds me quite a lot, actually, of the Generation 2 character Colossus, who is called Clench, I believe, in America. He's an absolutely stunning piece of work, a wonderfully coherent robot that again bears more than a passing resemblance to his Generation 1 counterpart. The head sculpt in particular is very, very Gen 1 Onslaught, right down to that little gem thing in the middle of his forehead. That's just wonderful. The attention to detail is frankly just stunning. The way the cannons stick up over his shoulders is also highly reminiscent of Gen 1 Onslaught. The toy itself is remarkably well constructed. There's very little on him that's flimsy or breakable. And he's very posable. You wouldn't think so to look at him. He looks like one of those Transformers that's a bit of a brick. But he's not. He's remarkably posable. And all of his joints are these lovely ratchets that, click. Very, very satisfying clicks. Ray, I believe this guy might give you multiple orgasms if you haven't got him already. He also retains most of the gimmicks that he had in his vehicle mode. He's got the toilet flush of doom still. And also his eyes will light up in this mode when you press the button that makes the sounds, which is nice, and they glow gorgeously. Oh, and Tatimus, if you haven't got this guy, I can highly recommend him, so I think you and him will get on very, very well indeed. Yes, he has masses of articulation for a toy his size, and he's so wonderfully solid. The only complaint I've got about him, and it's not really a complaint about him as such, it's just a more general gripe about the Classics line, is I don't really understand why they made such an obscure character as Onslaught into a Voyager class, when they could have done something remarkable with a significant character like Galvatron, and instead they make him into a deluxe model. It's just bizarre. But yes, this is Universe Classics Onslaught, and if you can afford him, you can get it for reasonably cheap these days, but if you can afford him, and you're a Decepticon fan or you're a fan of the Classics line, this guy is unambiguously recommended. He's wonderful. Absolutely wonderful toy. Just as an aside, I realised that I reached 666 subscribers today, so this is a huge thank you to everyone who has subscribed to me. It's incredibly gratifying. Thank you very, very much.